This is the plaintiff, Kenneth Stipe. He says he's been friends with the defendant for 12 years, and he helped the guy get back on his feet when he faced eviction. But the guy's made no effort to pay him back. He never thought the defendant would do something like this, but friend or no friend, he wants his $2,500 back and is suing. This is the defendant, Stuart Gaskin. He says he did pay the plaintiff back and can't believe this guy's trying to sue him. Since they're no longer friends, he's going to countersue him for the money he's owed for installing the guy's kitchen cabinets. He's accused of failing a friend. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $2,200 for unpaid labor.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he's been friends with the defendant for a dozen years and can't believe the guy would stiff him on a loan. But the defendant says he paid the guy back for that loan, and if anyone is owed money, it's not the plaintiff, so he's countersuing the guy. It's the case of friends no more.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Stipe, you're suing your good friend of 12 years, Mr. Gaskin, for $2,500 that you say he still owes you from a debt from how long ago? Almost 2 years ago.
I loaned him the money over 2 years ago.
Okay, so what happened? What did you loan? How much money did you loan him?
I loaned him $3,400.
And what did he need? That's a pretty big sum. What did he tell you was the reason he needed the money?
He told me he needed this money for he was about to lose his home.
Okay.
He was back on payments.
All right. Did you put anything in writing with him about a payment plan and interest or no interest or whatever the deal was?
No, ma'am. It was just a spoken contract between him and I.
That's always a very, 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 very bad idea. And people always tell me the same thing. Well, no, I didn't think I had to because we're friends. That's exactly who you don't want to lose, is a friend or a family member. You don't want there to be anything left to chance, and you don't want there to be any misunderstanding. So that is who you really want to have it in writing with. And you don't need a lawyer for that. You grab the nearest crayon and roll of toilet paper and you write the agreement down. Or at a minimum, if you didn't do that, you try to get it in an email or a text, the confirmation when you loan the money that it's this and that it's going to be paid back at such and such a way. You leave it open-ended like that, which lots of people do. That's kind of what happens in these cases. But in any event, Mr. Gaskin, you don't deny that in your time of need, the person who helped you attempt to save your home, I don't know if it worked, was in fact Mr. Stipe, your good friend, right?
I don't deny that, no.
And how much exactly did you hit him up for?
Well, I seem to remember the figure being $3,000, not $3,400. Okay,
well, that would be a good thing to establish first. Did you pay him in cash, Mr. Stipe, or how did you give him the money?
I handed him cash on a job site that he was working on.
Okay.
I was actually working on that job site with him a few weeks before that.
Okay.
I had lost my father on April 16th of 2019.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Mr. Gaskin knew that I had gotten an inheritance. It wasn't 6 weeks later, at the end of May of 2019, that he approached me and asked me to borrow $3,400, that he was about to lose his house on back.
What's your house payment, Mr. Gaskin?
In the neighborhood of $1,400.
Okay. I'm kind of concerned that you're not sure how much you borrowed when you borrowed so much and haven't paid it in 2 years, Mr. Gaskin.
It was $3,000 and one.
Oh, now you're certain? Because a second ago, what you said was, I seem to remember it being 3, not 3.4.
It was $3,000, Your Honor.
Yeah.
It was $3,000.
Yeah, no, I'm not buying your certitude right now because you didn't have that certitude 60 seconds ago. Let me ask you a question. Have you paid any of it?
Yes, I have.
How much have you paid?
$600, 6 $100 checks. And once Mr. Stipe filed the suit against me and I saw that he had credited me $400 for installing cabinets, a figure that was never agreed upon.
Okay, we'll talk about the cabinets right now, but in money, how much have you paid him?
$600.
Okay, is that accurate, Mr. Stipe?
No, Your Honor, it is not.
Okay, what is the accurate figure?
The accurate figure on the checks that he has given me is 5 $100 checks.
Okay. Well, this would be good to know. So do you have six $100 canceled checks, Mr. Gaskin?
I do not.
Then how are you going to prove you paid him even $500? How are you going to, you don't have the canceled checks here?
They're in my bank.
Okay, well, can you pick them up on your phone or on your computer or something so you can see how many were cashed?
Sure.
Do it.
It was 5.
There we go. See how easy this is? All you got to do is make people pony up the proof, and then we're cooking with gas. All right, so Mr. Stipe, now, we know that $500 was paid, and then according to your math, when you're breaking down your lawsuit, you say that you gave him a $400 credit for 2 days of work, helping you to put up your kitchen cabinets at your home. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and you, Mr. Gaskin, feel that that was never agreed upon. What was agreed upon, Mr. Gaskin?
There was nothing agreed upon. I went over to help Kenny with his new kitchen because I knew I had a debt I knew that this would go towards the debt. We never announced a figure or anything.
Why would you okay, does anybody else see the colossal jam that you're going to find yourself in by not discussing a figure of how much that will take off? What if you think it should take off the whole thing and he thinks it should take off $10?
Well, I understand where you're coming from.
Right. Now, but according to you, Mr. Stipe, of course it was discussed, because it is completely asinine to think that it wouldn't be discussed. Because, how are you going to leave it to chance and then a year later discuss it? So you say that the figure was $40 an hour and that he worked 10 hours total, correct? So that it's $400.
Yes, Your Honor. I have that in text messaging.
Okay. So according to you, then, what is remaining is the $2,500. But according to you, Mr. Gaskin, you're so irate that he didn't give you more credit than $400 that you now want to charge him $2,200 for helping him put in the cabinets, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, he went crackerjack on me.
Oh, tell me about that. What happened? What happened between you guys?
We had made an agreement that I would send him $100 a month, and I was in the process of doing that. Over the holidays, we did not do it. We picked back up.
That's you did not. Hold on. You got a frog in your pocket? You did not do it. Not we did not do it. You did not.
I did not over the holidays.
Okay.
I picked back up, was in compliance within this month, and he went crackerjack on me in public at a restaurant that we hang out at. He yelled at the top of his lungs in front of my friends, screaming and threatening to sue me if I didn't pay him immediately in full.
Were you late on the $100 payment?
Tires. No, it was in the mail.
What month was that happened?
This was March. This was March.
And what day of the month of March was it?
I couldn't tell you the day.
But according to you, you weren't late at all?
Well, no, it was, we had set no specific date that the checks had to be there by.
Oh, so that's why you're saying you're not late, because it's March. It's still the month of March or whatever.
He had gotten a check in February.
What day in February did he get the check?
I don't recall.
Okay, what day in February did you get the check, Mr. Stipe?
I received a check on 17th of February. That was the last check I received.
Do you remember when?
Before that.
The check before that?
The check before that was received back in September of 2020.
Oh, so you didn't get a January check, or what is that? Oh, you got a big definition of holidays. I just assumed you meant Christmas.
I didn't get October.
So you mean October, November? So you didn't pay October, Mr. Gaskin?
No, ma'am.
Oh, so there's a holiday in October. So for Halloween, you didn't pay, because you know how stretched out everybody is during Halloween. Then you didn't pay November. Then you didn't pay December. And then you didn't pay January. So for 4 months, you hadn't paid, Mr. Gaskin?
I guess so.
I'd have more respect for you if you walked in here and said, I just don't have the money. But what you're saying instead is, I don't owe the money. And then you're talking about how he went bonkers and how inappropriate it was. But the truth of the matter is that not paying the only guy you could turn to not lose your house is what's inappropriate. There's text back and forth between you guys. Good morning, Stu. How's your day going so far? Mine is starting out the same as it has for a while now. This is on July 21st, I presume 2020, so it's a year after you loaned him the money. Every day I get up and try to figure out how a friend can borrow $3,400 and really not even try to pay it back. I appreciate the work you did in my kitchen, and that took some of your debt away. but you still owe me $3,000. So in this text, we know he is mentioning that it's $3,400, not $3,000. And he's mentioning that it's $400 credit for the kitchen. I believe I have always been a loyal friend to you. It was not long after I received some of my inheritance that you asked to borrow the money. It's been over a year now, and you still owe me. And your response is, no problem, Kenny, I'll start cutting you a check every week. That is when he starts cutting the check for $100. You know what I don't see your response being? Hey, I only borrowed $3,000. You know what I don't see your response being? Hey, I should get paid more than $400 for helping you with the kitchen. I don't see that. So if you aren't lying to me, that's what I would see here. If I don't see it, how can I come to any conclusion but that you are an ungrateful thief that won't pay your friend back? Tell me, Mr. Gaskin.
I don't know.
I don't either. Verdict for the plaintiff in the amount of the $2,500, and on your counterclaim against him, for him to pay you $2,200 for what you clearly in that text were accepting a $400 credit for, zero.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the judge finds for the plaintiff, no doubt about it, the $2,500 goes to Mr. Stripe. Mr. Gaskin, how'd you feel when the judge read your note back and your promissory, to pay him?
Hey, it is what it is.
You really don't seem to be too worried about it at all, do you?
Nope, I don't.
Why not? Why not? He lent you money. You understand that?
Yeah, and I was paying him back. And I was paying him back. So just not as quick as he wanted me to. So good riddance is the way I see it.
Good riddance. Oh, what a great friend you are. Wow. Mr. Stripe, did you hear what he just said?
Yes, I did.
What do you think about that?
My wife tells me not to loan money to friends anymore if I want to keep them.
Well, congratulations. You're going to get your money back finally, thanks to suing them in court. Good for you.
Okay, so a little lesson in friendship. It's great when you have a really good friend, but oftentimes those relationships get destroyed by money. And here's the way to prevent that. You've got to be grown up about this. And when you loan somebody money or when you borrow money, you've got to memorialize it either in an email or a text. Make it clear that it's a loan, make it clear how much is owed, and make it clear when it has to be repaid. If you don't do that, it's going to feel good for a while. But then when there's a mess, that friendship that you treasured is going to go up in smoke.
What was your favorite age growing up?
My favorite age growing up was probably when I was 6 or 7 years old. Which I know you're going to say, well, that's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird.
But really, hang on for a second. Okay. Here's the thing. Life was so carefree at that age, and you had this
Did it really get hard at 8? Did it start to really go downhill at 8?
It was all downhill. I'd go fishing after school almost every day when I was that age. I could walk to school or ride my bike to school. I had my big brother with me. He was 18 months older than me. And it was just, I don't know, pretty stressful.
Your mother let you ride your bike to school at 6? With your brother?
With my brother, yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah,
it was pretty
all of 8.
Stress-free. What about you? How about you? What's your ideal age? Tell me what was great for you.
I would say my senior year in high school was grand.
Yeah.
It was just grand. It was like the first year that my mother didn't chaperone me because I was chaperoned to my senior. But I was also president of student council, so I was doing a lot of fun things. I was getting to plan the prom, and I was so it was like, my first whiff of liberty, plus it was so much fun, and I went to a great high school. We had our 40th reunion a year or two ago, and everyone was just so happy to see each other. It was just a really tight, small school, St. Brendan's in Westchester in Miami.
Just out of curiosity, who was the queen of the prom?
I was prom queen.
See, my high school experience was wretched compared to yours. Those were tough years.
It went downhill at 8.
Right.
And that's going to do it for this session of the People's Court, and we will see you next time.